Hi everyone, we're back. This is Krylios, Team Racing Productions MC and producer. And joining me today is one of the at-large candidates running here for the DC Council, and that's Eric Rogers. Welcome, Eric.
Hey, how you doing?
I am doing well. I am doing well. It's great to have you back on our channel. Thank you for your first interview with Racine. It's lovely to have you here once again.
Thank you for having me. I certainly appreciate the invite.
Of course, definitely. Now, please tell our viewers about yourself and why you're a candidate this year.
So I'm running because, I've seen my city, and again, I'm Eric Rogers. I'm a native Washingtonian for the DC Council at Large seat. I've worked in government for over 20 years. Executive manager, I've worked in the legislative branch. So I've seen how the government can work, and I've seen the wonderful things that government can do for folks. And when I exited my DC government career, I thought, how can I give back? Because I have a lot of knowledge and experience about government operations, issues of the day, and how to be impactful on people. So last year I decided, let me put my hat in the ring and, give it a go. And try to give back a lot of this 20 years of public service to my hometown.
Wonderful, wonderful. And it's been a while since the last time we have spoken. Tell me what has changed since the last time we've interviewed you, and what have you learned thus far from the campaign process?
I've learned that campaigning is a lot different during a pandemic than traditional campaigning. No, but in all seriousness, I've learned that the people of the District of Columbia are ready for a new type of leadership. We've seen it through some of the protests that have been happening. We've seen it by the diversity of candidates that are in this particular race right now. But the main thing that I've learned is that folks are truly hungry for my type of leadership. Real, honest, simple. There are I've learned that folks aren't attached as much to slogans or necessarily advocacy work to a certain degree. They're more attached to problem solvers and how do you get solutions done. So kind of coming into the campaign, I'm thinking, let me do, this particular strategy, let me do that particular strategy. And once you start engaging with voters and you start hearing their issues, hearing their passions, hearing their concerns, it really does shape you as a candidate. It shapes you in a way that I don't think, I didn't foresee. I'll be honest with you, I didn't foresee, but it's a good thing. It makes you more receptive to the electorate, and it helps you to understand the priorities, your priorities, my priorities, as you move forward in espousing certain visions, espousing certain goals, and if I'm lucky enough to win, how I would decide to govern come in January.
Wonderful. Now tell me about the impact of, because it's been a very wild summer, it's been a wild year. Tell me about the impact of the ongoing pandemic, the protests, the demonstrations, all of that on you personally, as well as your priorities as a candidate.
Well, me personally, especially with the pandemic, my family has been afflicted by COVID-19. Luckily, no deaths, but uncle of mine tested positive. My wife, we believe, had it earlier on before testing was available. But it showed me, to be honest with you, the fragility of life, the fragility of circumstances, which leads into bigger issues, of racial equality, income security, income insecurity, and the like. And it's really brought home for me, what government can do to help people. For example, many of our small businesses, I used to work at the Department of Small Local Business Development. I was the chief of staff there, and I also ran the Business and Professional Licensing Division at DCRA for a little bit of time, deputy over there. So I've had a lot of experiences working with businesses. And some of the businesses that I used to work with in the main streets, so it's a program that we would run, had contacted me outside of the campaign. This has nothing to do with the campaign, but just asking for help. They know that I have the resources, they know that I have the knowledge. and just asking, what can the government do, to help us in this circumstance, help us to get out of this. Similarly, I've had a lot of folks that I've met during the campaign, who've lost their jobs, who had issues getting unemployment, folks who had issues getting testing. So it showed me, to answer your question more directly, it showed me that good government service, and it showed me that no matter what the issues are, like I said, racial inequality, housing insecurity, they're solvable problems if you have the political will. And kind of touching on the earlier question, what folks have shown me is that they have the political will to move forward on a lot of these issues. It's exemplified by the protests. I'd argue to say white DC, white America understands the systemic issues that have been happening to Black Americans, Black DC residents particularly, and how that impacts us when you have significant shifts in society. So the pandemic, and the closing of our economy, and who are the folks who are most impacted first, and the hardest, Black and brown people. So it shows that we need to invest in our education system so that we're more resilient when these types of issues come up. It shows that our healthcare delivery system is not up to par as it relates to my neighborhood. I live in Ward 7, in the Hillcrest neighborhood in Ward 7. So if I have to go to the hospital, the closest hospital to me is United Medical Center. Well, United Medical Center is shutting down. So beyond that, I have to go all the way over to Washington Hospital Center, perhaps PG hospital, depending on the circumstance. So these are real life issues that have been amplified by the pandemic, obviously by the protests, that have shown me that as an electorate, folks are ready to make that change. They're ready to invest those dollars in all of those programs that we needed to have a more fair and balanced city.
Wow. Definitely. Now, at this point, there are maybe around 24 people running for at large, and at this point, voters can vote for two people. And I want to find out from you, do you support other, types of voting methods like instant runoff voting or ranked choice voting in DC elections? Do you support any of those methods?
I do and I don't. It really depends on what we choose. I'm, a student of, winner takes all. That's what I learned in political science. That's what I studied. And I feel that, an engaged campaign, an effective campaign can win over the majority of voters. And I do feel that in this city, because there's an interplay that folks aren't, in DC, we're unique. We're not like Portland or some of the other Western states that have moved on to ranked choice voting and other forms of electioneering. I look at the political impact, and I'll be very honest with you. The Black population and the Black political power in the city is dwindling, and any effort to alter or diminish our political power, and some would argue that having ranked choice voting can increase it. I'm still on the fence on that. I'm going to look at with a skeptical eye. Since 1973, since home rule, it's been Black folks who've been running the city up until fairly recently. So, so as I look at the newer population that's coming into the city, and as I look at some of the choice or some of the fights that they're putting forward for us to think about, I always look at it in that context. So to answer your question directly, if I feel that ranked choice voting or any other form of electioneering or voting won't negatively impact the Black electorate and the Black political clout and power, then yes, I'm all for it. But if I do feel that it will somehow diminish our political power and political clout, then no, I'm not going to support it.
Got you, definitely. Now, answer me this. With the fact that there are two votes, who will be getting your second vote? Which of your at-large candidates?
That is the question. Well, legally, if I can vote for myself twice, I do that. So I encourage all of you viewers, you do have two votes, and make sure one of them is Mr. Rogers, because I'm protecting all the neighborhoods, just so I'm putting that out there. No, but I'm still, honestly, I'm looking at some of the other candidates for my second choice. I like to think of myself as an Obama Democrat. So that my inclination obviously would be towards the Democratic nominee, but I haven't made a firm decision on that because, this race has brought out some exciting contenders. I'm not going to lie. A lot of my contenders have very compelling platforms, and having worked in government as long as I have, I can kind of see how they would plug and play with the existing structure of government and the way that we do things and the way that we operate. So I still haven't settled in on a person yet, but I'll be sure to let you guys know as soon as I do.
Wonderful, wonderful. Now tell me, what do you want to say to voters about the election process this year and about voting?
Sure. It's critically important, as everyone knows, we got, 45 in the White House, that's wrecking our country. We have, a pandemic, social change, as well as economic turmoil happening in the city. And it's critically important for folks to go out and vote. Critically important. Whether you vote for me, whether you vote for any of the other 23 folks who are in the race, it's critically important because your vote definitely matters. I remember back in, I think it was 1998, when Sandy Allen won against Edie Whittington. She won by one vote. Edie Whittington did a special, she filled the term, the remaining term of the Ward 8 council member at the time. And they ran, and Edie won. And then to replace, to do the full term, Sandy won by one vote. And that's how critical and important voting is, because if two more people had come out to vote, and assuming they had voted the other way, we would have had a different council member in Ward 8 for 2008. I think it was 1998 to about 2004 election. So who knows what could have happened? Not saying anything bad about, Councilmember Allen or any of the wonderful work that she did, but it just shows you how critical, just coming out, just one household coming out to vote can change the course of an election. We saw it with Trump, 70 some odd thousand to 100,000 votes for getting the popular vote changed the course of this country. Literally changed the course of this country because 100,000 people in 3 select states decided to vote another way, or other folks decided not to. So with all that said, come out and vote. Vote for me, of course, but come out and vote. It's easy this time. The DC Board of Elections is going to mail you a ballot, so you don't even have to do anything but go down the list, vote for Eric, and then whoever else you want, put it in the mail. And if you don't trust the mail, drop it off at one of the drop boxes, which will be known, and vote. You got to vote, because to me, politics is a participatory sport, and you can't be arguing about what's not happening if you're not in the game.
Yeah, that is true. That is definitely true. Now, speaking of people going to vote, tell them, how can they, support you and keep up with you and everything for the upcoming election?
Sure. Well, my website is rogersfordc.com. My social media handles, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, are at rogersfordc51. Definitely check them out. Check me out. Like I said, I have a long history in DC government. I think you'll be pleased by what you read. And if you're looking for someone, this is for the voters, if you're looking for someone who's going to tell it to you like it is, who's going to tell you what the government can or can't do, or my particular opinion on it, I'm the person that you want to vote for. I'm not going to give you something to make you feel good. I'm going to give you something on what the government can do. Like I said, I've done this for 20 years. I know what the government can do. I know the wonderful work that government has done. I've been a part of it. If you go to my website, you can see all the awards that some of my work has gotten. But it's critically important that folks go out and vote. They go out and vote for me. And they come and visit my website, follow me on all the social media.
Thank you so much, Eric. And thank you, of course, for joining me today. It's always such a pleasure.
Sure, not a problem.
Thank you. And to our viewers, thank you for watching. Bye, everyone.